So, Joel, do you know what the Grounded Reason podcast needs?
What?
A cold open. This is Dennis, and welcome to another episode of the Grounded Reason podcast. So we've been on a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And
First time, though. That was the first break we've had.
yeah, Joel multiplied.
Well, I mean, technically, that's not how it works, Dennis.
What do you mean?
Well, so I'm not a worm. I didn't like split apart and have a child.
Where do babies come from?
Yeah. So my wife had a baby because she did all the work. I just was there.
Right.
Yeah. So we had a baby girl. So like, there's 25 kids in my family now, or
Right, something like that. I bet that's been like a running gag, for me. And like when people ask,
Yeah. How many kids does Joel have? Or
well,
what?
cause someone asked on the Facebook page, is like, when are you guys going to come back? Because we've been, couple week
Yeah.
break, and I said, well, when Joel stops having kids, and
Yeah.
I was like, Joel's having kids. I'm like, I had to do a bunch of blog type business where I had to go on a few conferences. But yeah, when people ask, what's Joel doing? It's always been he's off having kids again.
Well, so like I call one of my other buddies like I'm literally in the hospital. Like Ann just got out of having the baby. We're sitting there in recovery, and I call one of my buddies and I'm like, "Hey man, I got good news." And he goes, "Ann's pregnant." The fuck you talking? She just gave birth, right? Like, Jesus, So like that's what I've been doing for the last like 4 weeks. But
Yeah.
Things are stable now, and I'm ready to get back, and everything's going well now, right? Like net neutrality, all that stuff's good.
Yeah, I think
Internet's free and available for everyone now.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, G-Pi said, I think yesterday, that he was done screwing over American consumers and everything's just gonna be
Nice.
I'm
Comcast.
just kidding.
No,
Everything kind of still sucks.
still pretty shitty.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But some good stuff. And I was talking about this today, is like network channels are actually streaming now
Yeah.
on lots of services.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's been happening for a while, but the big holdout used to be CBS.
Yeah.
Because they had like CBS All Access. And which, by the way, I don't know if you've been on the page on the blog for CBS All Access. It's basically like a, what it is, what it does, how much it costs, kind of like page about CBS All Access. There's like almost 400 comments on that of people like just pissed because CBS.
It's normally not a good sign when that many comments are on something like that.
Well, I think their big beef is that you have to pay extra money for like a network channel.
Oh,
because it's all CBS content,
Right.
Streaming, and it's like $9 a month or whatever.
still commercials, right?
Yep. They do have a commercial free thing. So, but still, for the most part, if it's live TV, if you're watching the live stuff, you're gonna get commercials.
And this is what sucks to me. Like, just as a general model, right? Like we've talked about this before. You can make me pay with my eyeballs, right, and make me watch commercials, or you can charge me.
Right.
Don't do both.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, really, it's just a cable model. It's like you're gonna have to pay for extra stuff, and you're gonna have to pay us, and you have to watch commercials.
Well, it's like the airline model, right? Like with like luggage and extra.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, now it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
and so this is my point. Is like, do you really, if you're building a business, CBS, do you really want like your new splinter business? Because CBS All Access is only like 3 years old.
not even. Nah,
Right.
I think it was one of the early. It was earlier. Maybe two.
But
2 years.
earlier would still be 2-3 years.
Yeah, it's like
right?
2 years. Yeah. Maybe.
So my point is, like, if you're building something that is relatively new to your business model, do you really want to emulate other industries that everyone thinks suck?
Right.
Agreed.
And I think that's like the problem is it wasn't getting on a lot of it wasn't getting on Sling, and it wasn't getting on DirecTV Now, because they were like kind of being a walled garden
Trying to do their
for CBS content. Well, they've finally woken up, and they've unleashed like channels everywhere now. Like
That's
DirecTV,
awesome.
like on DirecTV, I think it's like they're over 100 markets right now with channels.
Wow.
Like I'm talking like where you can get some kind of live
Yeah.
broadcast. CBS just unloaded 50 channels, 50 markets, local markets on DirecTV now. In all the major markets on DirecTV now, you can get all your broadcast channels streaming now. It's like in the 6 majors, like your New York, your LA, your Philadelphia, and it's like that on View. Google's been rolling out YouTube TV like crazy lately.
Yeah,
they're all over. They're in Baltimore now. They just showed up in Baltimore.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, again, I've been in like a cave, but
right. But they're over in like 30 markets right now.
Wow.
So I mean, here, I can pull up because I'm sure people are like, well, what markets?
What markets? Yeah, no joke.
Hold on.
I mean, like that's one of those things. Like, so you talked about what was it? CBS had hit 50 markets.
Oh, on DirecTV now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's once you get through. I'm assuming when they mention markets, they're talking MSAs, so like metropolitan areas.
I think they go by DMAs, and
they're very similar.
Okay,
but once you get through like the top, or once you do 50 or so, you've got to encompass most of the major markets, right? Like that's going to be, probably half of the population in the United States.
Yep.
That's a huge thing.
Okay, now here's the thing with YouTube. The YouTube is not, they said that they aren't going live in a market unless they can get the networks on board for it.
Okay.
So now whether that's live, I don't know, but it's at least on demand. So, because I know like if they couldn't get the live, they're just going to get on demand for all of them.
Right.
But I looked and it looks like the Baltimore stations are live in our market. So
nice.
Here, I'm just going to give you a rundown. We'll start off Albuquerque, Atlanta, Austin, Baltimore, Birmingham. I'm assuming that's Alabama.
Yeah, it's got to be Alabama.
Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, Ohio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Denver, Detroit, Greenville, Greensboro. I guess those are
North Carolina.
Harrisburg, Hartford, Connecticut, Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Missouri, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Louisville, Memphis, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale, Milwaukee, Wayne's World.
Is that how the French say it?
I think that's the Native American pronunciation.
Okay.
So Minneapolis, St. Paul, Nashville, New York City, Norfolk, Virginia, Oklahoma City, Orlando, Daytona Beach, Melbourne, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Pittsburgh, Portland, Raleigh, Sacramento, Salt Lake City, San Antonio, San Diego, San Francisco. That's the whole Bay Area. So like Oakland and Berkeley. Seattle, St. Louis, Tampa, Washington, D.C., and West Palm Beach.
All right. So the only ones that I could think of that I didn't hear, but you might have said, did they get Anchorage?
Right. It's like
and
very
did they get
distant.
Honolulu?
No.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's like small, like there's like
Yeah, but that's a hell of a lot.
Like Bend, Oregon, and like Butte, Montana. Like there's a bunch of
there's lots of
like tinier markets out there,
mid-major,
right? Like, and I didn't hear like
that's a lot of market.
Yeah, it's a ton. It's and like YouTube, like there is some channels lacking in their package. I think the TBSs, if I'm not mistaken, are not there. Or the TNTs. So
one or the other. Right?
So I mean, no, I think both actually are missing.
Oh wow!
But they do have like AMC, and they have like FX, and a lot of the good, where all the good stuff is.
Yeah.
Like, and they got the ESPN and Fox Sports one. But I mean, for them to like have that and then local broadcast in a lot of those markets,
it's a pretty big deal.
It is. It's huge.
So I would assume with this, we talked about this with like municipal internet a while back, where from an infrastructure perspective, it's really easy when you, or at least it's easier when you build in one community for the community next to them to piggyback.
Right.
this is probably harder because this is all about contractual language. This is
That's
not an infrastructure
that's
thing.
what's slowing it down.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's even because news was announced, like a bunch of markets signed on. Because the way it works is like, NBC, Fox, and ABC and CBS. The parent companies own like the channels in the major markets,
Right.
for the most part. Like your LA's, your New York's, WNBC is like
Yeah.
the parent company
Yep.
for like that's a piece. So, but you have all these local affiliates.
By the way, I did get that Howard Stern
oh,
reference.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
just
classic.
so you know.
It's it's what's his face?
I don't remember, but
Pig,
WNBC
Pig
Pig Vomit.
Pig
Pig Vomit.
Yeah. What's his name? Sideways guy. Paul Giamatti.
Come on, Paul G.
That's it. I can do it. But anyway, what I was saying, the local channels decided to negotiate with the parent company. So they basically said whatever the parent company decides, we'll
defer
piggyback
to.
on.
Right,
But the problem with that is they still have to do all the while they will, come along for it, they still have to sign that individual market over.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's also an FCC check too, because this is broadcast TV and they need to make sure that, they're not crossing. The big problem is there's laws in the books that say the market in Baltimore can't interfere with the market in DC or vice versa.
You can't cross streams. It's like
Exactly.
Ghostbusters.
Right. So I guess they need to make sure, that all those, I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
I mean, basically, it's like any major negotiation. The lawyers need to be involved to make sure all the language is straight. Whoever is the inspector, in this case, it's like the FCC and so on, would come in and double check everything. And all of the people that are the actual property owners need to make sure their cut is right. And then the deal is done.
Right. But I mean, that can take anywhere. I mean, when you're talking lawyers, you're talking government, you're talking old, huge companies.
Right.
You're talking, months.
Or cranky, old, privately held companies.
Right.
Where
You're talking months of once the deal is once they shake hands, it could be months.
You
of
could still
paper
be several
pushing.
months for it to get.
So that's slow going, but it feels like stuff
But it's going.
is happening.
It's happening, right? I mean, especially now. What's funny about it is it is one of those things, even though there's no real forcing function for it to build up steam, right? Here's what I mean. Let's say I live in Baltimore, and Baltimore.
You do.
Hypothetical. Oh,
You do.
Touche.
You do live in Baltimore.
So we get. Yeah. I get it. I remember where I live vaguely. So Baltimore gets its deal done,
Right.
But for whatever reason, DC didn't, right?
Right, and it's just one of the networks usually because
Yeah,
they're all
it's just
independent.
one of the networks
Right.
and so on. There's nothing really my buddies that live in DC. It's not like they can piggyback on Baltimore service to force the DC or the DC owner's hands, right?
Right.
They're just kind of waiting, right? And so there's nothing that really would speed this up, but it seems like the owners have realized that it's decent economics, right? That this is inevitable, right? That the industry's gonna go this way. Better to embrace it and just get it done and keep the contract negotiation cost low.
I remember when we started this podcast, anything you read was it's fine.
Oh, it'll never happen.
It's a fad. You'll never be able to stream.
You know when we started
broadcast
this
channels.
13 months ago.
I know. And in a little over a year, the industry has completely flipped on its ear.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's really fast. If you think about an industry that touches people's lives as much as entertainment in the modern era. If you rewind the clock back 100 years ago, right? Entertainment was not that big a thing. right? Like entertainers didn't make crazy money before movies, and so
Right.
on. Because
I mean, vaudeville was huge.
It was-
that was what
it
it
was
was.
big,
but
but
I mean, that's
you
what I
weren't-
mean. That was the pinnacle. Like
that
there was
was
like
the
you would all go to the
pinnacle,
show,
and even those guys, they weren't making like, I don't know, pick Keanu Reeves money. We were talking about Keanu
Right.
Reeves earlier.
No.
They weren't making big money, right?
Right.
They were making decent money.
and it's like
They
we
did
talked
well,
about this
but-
before, where like, and you weren't like you were like town famous.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't
Yeah,
like
you were a New York celebrity. And
Right.
You never would pay for a meal in New York.
right.
Because you were a vaudeville guy and whatever. But
Right. Or you
like,
go to Atlantic City and they had like their own like
yeah,
celebrities.
their own ones. And so my point in bringing that up is basically this idea that like, up until pretty recently, really like the 30s probably started it, and then, ever since then, right? Like,
Right.
so the last 80 some odd years, there's been like an entertainment industry.
Right.
And it's basically because like the rest of the economy has become so productive, right? It's so easy to make food and the basics that there's time for entertainment.
Right.
Like,
Because back in the day, it was
Right,
like
the rest of us were shoving our
Right.
hands in machines.
exactly.
Or
You need to be
picking potatoes out of the ground.
you need to be
just
growing some
survive,
food,
right?
you know. No one had time to go be an actor.
Yeah, people forget that wasn't that long ago, right? Like,
No, it wasn't.
It was very recently. So, like, you say like, okay, we've got this industry that it touches our lives in very complex and in almost constantly. Like we are so spoiled, and I don't mean that in a pejorative, but like we're just lucky in the sense that we live in an era where entertainment is an option.
Oh
right?
yeah. Well, I always said the other day, because we live in an area where Amazon does groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And I live near a major metropolitan area, and this I'm not bragging. I'm just like I'm saying.
No, we just let me tell everyone this really quick. Baltimore happens to be next to an Amazon hub,
right,
for their shipping and distribution like network.
I'm taking one of my kids camping this weekend, and I had to go and buy some like last minute things. Usually, I just have Amazon send everything.
Yeah,
it was the first time I was in a grocery store in 3 months.
Yeah.
Because
it's a weird experience when you go to a grocery store and you haven't been there in a long time.
Because like, okay, we belong to like a CSA, so we have to go pick up our fruit and veg and whatever.
Little things.
But like there's a farm that'll deliver like milk and meat to our house.
Oh, that's right. We
not
split
too
the
far
CSA
away.
for 1 year.
Right. So we do that. And then like Amazon brings everything else. So I mean, what a time. I mean, really, what a time to be alive. And it's all like, or like when I went out to, for this convention, I had to go out to California and just, like I need to get somewhere. I pull out my phone, Lyft, boom. Somebody comes in 4 minutes and takes you. We live in a time right now that is crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And I love how like people will like, oh, Lyft drivers. 15 minutes. I was like, do you remember like not like 3 years ago when you'd call like the cab company and they might come like in an hour,
or they might come,
or they might come. You're happy when they show.
Here's this shit will blow your mind. Like it blew my mind when I was reading about it because I'm a dork. In case nobody noticed, and so I read books about like the economics of the transportation revolution, right? Because who doesn't, right? And it's like to go from Philadelphia to Washington back in the day. So this is like, 1800.
Right. Which normally, I mean, just for people who aren't familiar.
That's not that far.
No, it's like
these days, that's not that far.
Baltimore to there, it's almost like it's a little under 2 hours. So I'm thinking maybe 2:15 to get from Washington to Philadelphia. Maybe 2:30.
2:30, yeah, because
2 hours.
Washington's probably another. Right. From here, it's 45 minutes, right, to DC. Right. So maybe
maybe 2.5 hours.
Out, you would say 3 hours, right? Like, but that's like that, right? Like, you used to have to take a wagon, and you would go down on a wagon, right? Like, yeah, that's trippy enough, right there. I mean, 200 years ago, you took a wagon.
Screw that.
Right?
I'm just not going anywhere.
I'm just not going. I'm saying no, and that's honestly what most people did. In fact, they've done studies like most people up until pretty darn recently never went,
dude. I'm playing
more than 50 miles from their home.
I played Oregon Trail.
Yeah,
it's only exactly bad shit happens with wagons.
Only bad shit.
You either die of dysentery or you ford the river, and you never want to do that.
So one of my favorite scenes in all movies is like in Apocalypse Now, where Chef, like the guy who wants to be a saucier in New Orleans, goes. He gets off the boat and he goes out like they're going down the river. He gets off the boat and he's going to take a leak, and he sees a rustling in the bushes. And like, all of a sudden, he peeks into the bushes, and all of a sudden, it's a tiger, and tiger swats at him, and he fucking runs away, like at top speed, jumps on the boat, and is like crying, right? Because he's so afraid. And they're like, what the hell happened? He's like, a fucking tiger, man. A fucking tiger. Never get off the boat. Never get off the boat. I live my life by that mantra. You never get off the fucking boat.
Well, I mean,
right?
I live that too, like, when we go on a cruise, just because I'm lazy, and
right. Well,
I just don't want to get off the boat.
So my point in bringing up all of this, right, is this idea that like, and just to finish with the transportation thing, like you'd get on a wagon, you'd go. It would take you about 7 days, right, to travel from.
7 days?
I believe it was 7 days. It might have been a little less, but. The point is, it was measured in days.
Yeah, the fact that
it was measured in days,
yes.
Right? And here's another thing: the roads were so shitty. And remember, wagon wheels and even the first car wheels were made of wood.
Right. It took them a little while to figure out
wood brakes,
the whole rubber thing.
Right? Like, so when you're going, horses are pulling you. And you're going along at, 15, 20 miles per hour, and a wheel stops being round very quickly.
Yeah.
That tends to hurt. So there was not an unreasonable chance that you would be severely injured or
oh my God,
die.
my kids complain if I go down like a bumpy
we
road.
Had a speed bump on our road here, and they're like, "Oh my God, we're going 10 miles per hour, and we've got like a masterful suspension, like my minivan, because I got a minivan because I got 45 children, right? My minivan is a 2016, right? Like, so it's as good as
nice,
suspension as possible,
right?
And it's going over these bumps. It feels like a feather just landed on my head, right? Like it's nothing.
Yeah, but your
right?
kid's like, oh, I'm gonna be sick.
Oh my God, my spleen. And
yeah, my kids too.
This is my point with like, it's not much of a point. But
no, it's like humans get accustomed quickly.
To shit really quick. All right.
I think that's where we're full circling
that's
here.
Where we're full circling. It's this idea that like a year ago, we were like, well, it's fucking impossible. We're never gonna get any of these channels to like come on. And now they're not coming on quick enough.
Right. I had somebody complain.
People are still like, well, this is bullshit.
I know. Right? It's like so much cheaper, but I buffered for like 2 minutes before it started.
Because it's so much cheaper, and I am deluged with wonderful stories. Right?
Yeah.
And free time by which to consume these stories.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too, because like the Emmys were this week.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get to them a little bit later because I want to talk about some stuff that come out with DirecTV too. But like the Emmys, like it was like streaming, like took the Emmys over. But I digress. We'll get to that in a sec. One of the things I had to go out. I had to go out west to kind of like it was like a convention for like media and bloggers, and there's some companies there and things like that. When I got a chance to actually meet with some of the DirecTV Now folks, and they are 100% committed to streaming.
Yeah.
I talked to them about it, and they're like, yes, like we think this is huge.
Yeah.
And that's AT&T.
We have, and again, when you're talking ISPs,
Mhm.
you're always talking least dirty shirt, right?
Right.
Like,
Well, I
so
mean,
that's a,
to be fair, it's like, AT&T probably is going to own everything in like
well,
10
but
years.
my point is, like, with the least dirty shirt analogy, it's none of these people are like people in terms of companies, right? Are ones you want to go give a hug. But AT&T is absurdly well positioned
Oh,
to
yeah.
provide a really competitive
Oh,
offering.
well, and that's the thing. And I actually kind of said that to him too.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to him and I was like, now look, I was like, I haven't,
Not trying to tell you your business.
right. But
Yeah.
I have a gut feeling that once 5G hits and your guys are throwing internet over the air to everybody,
Gobbling up market share.
it's going to just make sense
Oh,
to throw DirecTV Now on top of it. And yes, we're back to kind of like a cable bundle.
yeah.
But some things have happened too, to where you have 7 streaming services right now
Well, the other thing
that they're going to have to compete
that
with.
has happened that's a really big deal, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle, is people's expectations have changed.
Yes, they
So-
want it on demand.
When there was a Ma Bell, like the real Ma Bell,
Mhm.
and you could only get, or you could get any color of phone you wanted back in the day, as long as it was black, right?
That's
Like
right.
that was their thing, right? And that was for decades.
Mhm.
No one knew any better.
Oh no,
That was
it's just the way
that
it
was the
was.
only game in town, right? Well, now we know better about this particular thing, and consumers will not accept a straight up monopoly until there's enough innovation to where something wholly different happens.
Right.
Right? Like, and I don't see anything like that in television entertainment happening anytime soon.
No, and I mean we've talked. I mean, because we've talked about some of the like watch outs when it comes to
Yeah.
AT&T and DirecTV Now, because there's some, when we say well positioned, if they're supplying internet and they own DirecTV Now and they own Time Warner content like
And
HBO,
they've got a good chunk of the wireless market already.
well, right. Well, that's what I mean. The 5G is going to come down, and
Well,
they're just-
yeah, exactly. But
and-
I mean, they actually got us at our cell phones. I mean, not you and me, because in this area we're mostly Verizon. But
Right.
a lot of the country is already using AT&T.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're super well positioned right now to kind of like lead the future of how we consume video.
Yeah.
Live video anyway. But like for instance, the deal that they just kicked out, like right now you can get an unlimited phone, their choice and plus plans.
Yeah.
You can get them unlimited with AT&T, and they'll give you a $25 credit towards a streaming service for their streaming to DirecTV Now. So like they call it a live video credit, and I think that's like to kind of get around like this, like the 0 rating complaints.
Well,
It's like you can use this credit for these services. They just all happen to be owned by us.
the other big thing, well, I'm sure you're right there, but the other big thing that goes on with basically it's a rebate, right?
It is. It's a rebate.
And so
They know that's the game. Is like people won't claim it.
yeah, so there's like I mean, I don't know what theirs is, but
Yeah, I don't even
guarantee
know.
you there is an industry standard reclamation percentage, right? Like you offer it to 100% of the people who take this deal, and 30% reclaim it, right?
But,
And
but
you
that's not
do
to
the
say
math.
like you just have to get a streaming service. It automatically kicks in.
Yeah.
Like if you get DirecTV Now and you're an AT&T customer, it'll auto kick in. They're just thinking that like not everyone's going to get the streaming service.
Oh, so they aren't even making you reapply for the
Nope.
wow.
Yeah. So this is what
that's actually quite generous relative to most
right.
retail services. Period.
So what they'll do though, what they're doing right now is they'll give you HBO for free.
Get out.
Nope. They just did it. They just launched that last Friday. Or for the choice plan. It's been around for the unlimited plus plan, like their high end plan for a while. Now it's on their everyday unlimited plan is you get free HBO, you get a $25 credit. So you can get DirecTV now with free HBO for $10 if you're an AT&T unlimited customer.
You're making me think about stuff with that.
It's crazy.
Like
that is some cheap live TV.
Yeah. Well, in HBO, I can get my Game of Thrones.
Right.
I can even get my, second tier content leftovers. Now, I love, meaning the show Leftovers, which I love, but I'll take my Game of Thrones over Leftovers.
Well, I mean, but you think about that. That's like, because DirecTV now is to the point now with all those live channels and everything else, it's a legitimate cable. Like
it's
cable
a cable
replacement.
Offering.
It's legitimate.
Yeah.
It's $10. And
That's really cheap.
And you get a premium channel.
Ah.
But you have to be an AT&T unlimited customer. So like that right there just tells me, and I know what they're doing. They're just trying to because Sling right now has the most subscribers. They're trying to eat market share right now.
It's a loss leader.
Right. They're trying to I mean, I don't know their internals. My gut's telling me that they're not making a lot, if anything, on that deal.
Not on those, but I mean, so Amazon. Hey, you remember Amazon 5 years ago?
They still do that though. They still Amazon still I know they're profitable now, but they still have no problem taking a huge loss to gain some market share.
Amazon 5 years ago, when they introduced the original, not the Kindle Fires, right? But the original Kindle. I think the very first one cost $99 to buy and $103 for them to manufacture. Right. And they were like, we don't care.
They want you to buy books.
Because you're just going to be there buying books.
Right.
And then once they got to the Fire, they're like, you're going to be buying books. You're going to be buying regular old stuff we get a cut out of. You're going to be buying movies, right?
Well, that's why I'm afraid, because they don't mind spending money. And I'm afraid they're going to do something one day like, hey, NFL, we'll give you $1 billion if we can exclusively show all your content. Because they
might.
It might not be the NFL, but it might be like some kind of, I guarantee you one day Amazon's just going to be like, hey, let's just own the whole market for that content.
It probably wouldn't be the NFL just because it's the number one.
It's the number one,
but they might take hockey.
Well, I wouldn't. Right? Yeah, that wouldn't shock me at all.
Or soccer,
right?
Where you go, hey, it's soccer's probably the 5th tier in the United States, but the number one
in the world
internationally, right? Like picking up, Major League Soccer in the United States is probably a pretty smart thing.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Especially they've been talking about they want to go full a la carte, where they're right now they're building they have a pretty decent channel offering to where you can just go and get various streaming channels and you have to pay a few bucks for each one.
Yeah.
But they want to go full on a la carte, try to convince people to hey, your network, let's just put your network on as a channel and we'll just, put a dollar value on it. You go straight to consumer.
Honestly, I think people buy more when you sell it a la carte.
Well, right? I mean, let's look. Okay, that's a good segue to get into the Emmys here.
Sure.
Because the Emmys were Monday, and Handmaid's Tale won, for best drama. And
kudos to Hulu.
Right. That was their first big Emmy win. I think their first Emmy win period.
Period.
First one period.
It's Hulu.
I didn't want to say that because they might have gotten one of those creative arts.
Yeah,
or the one they do on
costume design.
Or the one they do not even on the main show, but the one they do the afternoon before or whatever. I wasn't sure, but
I think they straight
that's their first one.
Their first one was best drama.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is. Anyone who has not watched The Handmaid's Tale, it is amazing.
Yeah.
It is a great show.
It is. I was floored at how good it is.
I mean, there are some other shows that are fantastic, and so it was stiff competition.
Yeah. Well, I was a fan of Elizabeth Moss when she was on Mad Men. I thought she was fantastic on Mad Men.
I didn't even want. There are a couple other shows she's been on and movies she's been in that she's been great.
Oh yeah. She's been
she's got a whole.
She's been working a lot lately, but yeah, she was excellent in that. And Oh, Joseph Fiennes was unbelievable too in Handmaid's Tale.
Which one's he? Is he the one who
He was
is
he's like the main, like the guy,
the
her
of whoever, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
her
yeah.
patriarch.
Right.
Yeah, he's been in
From
a ton
Shakespeare,
of stuff.
yeah, Shakespeare in Love.
Shakespeare in Love, and yeah, he went from Shakespeare in Love to this. Well, he stopped off somewhere in there. Guilty pleasure of mine. The Hercules movie with Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He's in that.
Okay, yeah.
So here's when I watched that for the first time, I was watching it on Amazon Prime when not this baby, but the last baby was born in the hospital. So everything comes back to a baby being born in my family.
So, yeah. So The Handmaid's Tale took 5 Emmys.
Yeah, the big one was Best Drama, right?
Best Drama, and then they had like a slew of others. The second, and I consider this a streaming service, fight me if you will, HBO. Because HBO Now is a streaming service. It's you can only get HBO Now.
I would quibble. But
it's a quibble, but it's full like it is. It's no different than Netflix at this point.
Sure.
It is a premium channel.
Yeah.
So yes, it's still something that you would have to pay for extra anyway.
Right.
If you were, even if you're a cable
buy
provider.
a la carte,
right?
Is really what
exactly, and that's what I mean. And now that it's like just available for anyone, I don't really count that as kind of a
you don't have to have a cable bundle
exactly
to watch.
You can just go get HBO. So Big Little Lies, that won 5.
Yeah, I have not watched.
I haven't either, but I hear it's good. And then HBO had a slew of shows win. They had Last Week Tonight with John Oliver took home 2.
Yeah.
Veep took home 2. And The Night Of took home 1.
People love Veep.
Oh yeah. I have to watch it because everything that's the problem is I've only like looked at an episode. I haven't really sat down. I know I would love Veep because I love Julia
I have
Louis-Dreyfus.
a feeling I would really enjoy it.
You know, and everybody like everybody in it is hysterical. So
the problem again is it's a good problem to have. This is the first world.
I have
problem.
too many good things
too
to watch.
Many good things that I don't have enough time.
That's the cord cutter's dilemma, man. It's just there's too many good things out there.
Let me really make you feel like, play that sad song for Joel. Like, I also like to read, and like I can get books like instantly.
Oh yeah,
because I have a Kindle, right? Like,
I listen to books now.
Well, I mean, I listen to books too during the day, right? Like, because I have Audible. But audible.com.
Right, it's instant.
We don't have any sponsors for this show.
That's right. So if you're a listener out there, Audible.
So, Audible, think about us. We both use you. Anyways, so yeah, I like to read too. And so, like, I don't have enough hours in the day to consume all this stuff and still actually work my job and pay my mortgage. Right.
So we got that. So really, all those shows, that's all stuff that is available for streaming. Then you got Black Mirror, that won 2 Emmys.
Yeah, which I have not watched either.
Oh, I have. It's fantastic.
I've heard it's really, really
It's
good.
like a modern day Twilight Zone.
Everybody keeps telling me about the Bees episode I need to watch.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about the Bees.
If you like the Twilight Zone and you want something kind of current,
it's
perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
So then like The Crown won. That's a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Master of Want, also a Master of None. Excuse me. That's a Netflix show. So then there's NBC and FX were the 2 non-streaming-esque networks. And, like the shows, like This Is Us took home an Emmy, which is on NBC. That's a good show.
Yeah.
The Voice, which, good.
Whatever.
Good. It's good, like, to have
tea.
on. Right, ever.
Yeah, but
your kids can be up. Yeah, fine.
Nothing wrong with it.
NBC. Saturday Night Live took home 4 Emmys.
Yeah, they've had a real
resurgence. Yep.
You
You can thank
Yeah.
The political climate.
We
I think,
all
for that.
know what you can, and honestly, weird politics makes for good comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Always has.
Always has. And then Atlanta, that
Yeah,
Donald Glover
that's
show.
supposed to be great.
Yeah, that's
How
FX.
have I not seen that yet?
So I mean, really, so when you're looking at it, you're talking about NBC and FX.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's the only shows that, or the only networks
Well,
that really made a showing outside of. Well, I mean, HBO, I think, is kind of half and half. It's like whatever.
well, and you don't have it there, but I think if you did, we would see that a lot of the categories, the streaming services were competing against the streaming services, right? Like, so
I don't know.
like
Really, you
Hulu,
think?
well, yeah, best drama. I'm sure House of Cards was
Oh,
probably
okay, I see
in
what you're saying.
there.
Yes, yes,
You know
yes.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that is true. Well, yeah, if you look at the nominations,
or you could say probably Game of Thrones was in there. So if you got like, and it might not have been, I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, if you went the full count, NBC actually showed well. They
Yeah.
took home 6. HBO took home 10. NBC took home 6. Hulu took home 5. Netflix took home 4, and FX took home 2. So I
do
mean,
you have nominations there by any chance?
yeah, I mean, I can. Those are big numbers, but I
Yeah.
do have that. I do have that data here
I
somewhere.
was curious.
Hold on, because it's like everyone that was nominated. Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I have a rundown here. You went to by network. Yeah, it shows too much. So HBO had 110 nominations.
Holy moly.
Netflix came in at number 2
And that was my point.
with 91 nominations.
So Netflix, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't win anything.
Well,
It
no.
sounded
They took
like.
home some Emmys.
Okay.
Yeah, they took home.
'Cause you went
Black
all the
Mirror.
way down to 2, I thought.
They took home some from Black Mirror, and then they
Oh.
took one. Yeah, they had The Crown, Master of None.
Okay. Okay. So they did have a few,
Yeah.
but they had 91 nominations. So you had a lot of streaming services versus streaming services.
Yeah, and the thing with these nominations is I think that actually does like the creative arts noms too.
Yeah. And I guess my point in bringing that up is that, like, by looking at just the winning,
Yeah, the
right,
top two,
it
though.
almost understates the point.
Right, yeah, that's true. The top 2 are like HBO, which I said was 110. Netflix was 91. Then NBC was 60. So it's quite a bit of a drop
It's a
off.
huge drop off.
Yeah, but I mean, then you got some networks like FX got 54 nominations, ABC 34, CBS 29, Fox 21. Then Hulu had 18, which is pretty much all wrapped up within Handmaid's Tale and
What else would they have other than that?
oh, they got some good. They got some decent.
Yeah,
original
I mean,
content.
I don't doubt it, but
I mean,
that's the only one I know that I watched.
well, I think they Handmaid's Tale had 13 nominations, so that means like 5 nominations went elsewhere.
Yeah,
from Hulu.
but I don't know what they would be.
And then Amazon was behind them at 16.
I'm surprised Amazon
Right.
is as low as they are because
Well, they did it. They won it last year with Transparent. Didn't they win last year with Transparent?
yeah, and did they do okay with what's it, Man in the High Castle?
Well, that had a big drop off in season 2.
Yeah, but I meant last year.
It was
season
critically
1.
acclaimed. I don't think it won anything though.
Because I mean, like, the first season was great.
Oh yeah, it was really good. It was really, really good. So I mean, but really, the point here is like, and I say this all the time:
Golden era.
all your good TV is pretty much not. I mean, not really on cable. There's like a couple networks, maybe like FX. I like a lot of FX shows. I like a lot of AMC shows.
Yeah.
There's a really solid comedy on
Which one?
it's called I'm Sorry. It's its first season.
Don't know.
Andrea Savage, you should watch it. It's hysterical. It's probably it's probably my favorite comedy right now. And that's oddly enough, it's on True TV.
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of like actually they have like that, and Adam Explains It All is a pretty decent show too.
Huh.
Where it's one of those shows where a smarmy guy just kind of debunks common held myths.
That basically sounds like you and me when we go out and sit at the bar.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, it's a good show. But yeah, I'm sorry is probably it's hysterical. I mean, I recommend everyone. It got picked up for a second season.
Great.
Check it out. You're going to need one of the Sling TV or Direct TV.
I'm
now to catch it,
assuming
though.
you just missed Ash versus the Evil Dead's nomination.
Oh,
must
yeah.
have-
I think I might have overlooked that.
Yeah, you must have
'cause
overlooked that because certainly
it definitely
Bruce Campbell certainly got nominated.
it deserves all the Emmys.
Yeah.
All of them.
It's just they just hand him over.
Yep, best comedy,
when he walks
best
in.
drama,
Comedy,
best
everything.
Reality TV.
best chin,
Hey,
best chainsaw hand.
Who else is going to get the Emmy for best chin?
It's not me.
Of course, it's Bruce Campbell. Yeah, so I also wanted to say, like, Hulu really, they've seen the value here because an article was just put out. They're spending $2.5 billion with a B
Wow.
on content in 2018.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like Netflix spends $6 billion and Amazon spends $4.5 billion, but Hulu
Still.
has considerably less eyeballs
Yeah.
than both of those networks.
That's a pretty proportionate to their revenue stream.
It is, but
That's
I would
a
say
big investment.
I would say if you look at just like at subscribers, I would think if you look at like content investment per subscriber, Hulu is probably putting the most in right
that makes
there.
a lot of sense.
And
And that's got to go towards brand loyalty, right? Like assuming that from their investment, it bears fruit and they get good content,
Mhm.
then it's got to build a more loyal fan base.
right. Oh well, yeah. Well, I mean, those like there's just so much right now. I can't keep up. Like, because just between Hulu and Netflix and HBO, like I
Yeah.
have to find time to squeeze in anything else.
Yeah, I would say so. I love Amazon Prime. I will say that straight up. But I love Amazon Prime and Amazon
Mhm.
primarily for its movie offerings.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think it's got a deep bench in its movie offerings with Prime, and to the point that you've made multiple times, I can just buy whatever I want. Right? Like, oh, season whatever of, I don't know, Game of Thrones, I just go buy.
Yep.
Right? Like it's
Yeah,
that is
I just bought American Horror Story Cult. So
oh
Yeah, the new-
man. Again, I am jealous. Like now I need to go buy that when I get home.
yeah. So
I'm gonna make my wife really angry when we get home.
because I have to go.
I'm gonna be like, I have to do it. It's research, market research.
So I mean, I guess the whole point here is all the good stuff you don't need cable for.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, and again,
The NFL actually, I don't know if you've looked. There's articles right now. The NFL is dropping off around 10% from last year, and last year they were dropped off from the year before. So the NFL is the only thing I think really keeping broadcast and TV alive.
yeah, and I gotta say, I mean, like it's just a personal opinion. Like I played like
And cable.
and what?
And cable, like ESPN. ESPN, if they lost that, like Monday Night Football makes them so much money.
Well, and Thursday night football's gonna make ESPN some money.
Well, no. That's on NFL Network. And
is it now?
Yeah. Well, it's NFL Network, and CBS airs some games, and they split it with NBC and CBS.
Oh, I thought that was ESPN.
If I
for some
recall.
reason.
Don't sue me. I don't have my article up. It's in my article.
Well, so what I was gonna say is like
on how to
way
watch the NFL.
back, 150 years ago when I was in high school, I played football and I enjoyed the sport and like I watched it, nearly religiously every weekend, every Monday and every Thursday, from the age of 6 until about 3 years ago. I just kind of stopped.
This is the first year where I've actually kind of backed off myself. I watched half of a game so far.
That was me last year. I haven't watched anything this year.
I watched half of a game the other day, and really that's because we have a puppy And I was
Who,
like,
by the way, doesn't look like a puppy anymore.
no.
Like I drove by you the other day when you were walking him. I was like, Dennis is about to be mauled by that bear.
Right, he's huge.
He's gotten really big. Good Lord.
But we're still trying to, like, I'm actually, usually when I get a dog, it's the dog's like my equal. It's like I'm eating like a sandwich. And I'm like, oh, you're so cute. Here, have half my sandwich.
He's certainly not your equal.
Well, no, but with this dog, I'm trying to actually train them to be like a dog that listens.
Oh, I thought he would be the alpha.
Oh, no. So like I'm totally leash training him. Like when I'm in the house, even when I'm in the house, I have him on a leash, and I'm like, and he's doing amazing things that I didn't know dogs would do because I'm an idiot, and I would treat the dog like my equal before.
Like your taxes and...
Well, no, but like I could hold a treat in my hand, like right in front of him. And and he won't take it until I say, take it. Which, to me, I thought it's like magic. Because I thought dogs... I thought dogs were like...
These wild beasts.
Right. I fought previous dogs for food in my house.
You thought they were dire wolves and you just had them in your house.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's like, no, that's mine. I'm like pushing like them away from pizza. I'm trying to I'm gobbling like a slice of pizza while I'm like trying to keep my dog at bay.
No,
but not this dog. This dog listens. It's amazing.
So Finch, our dog, you know Finch. He's a big old labradoodle, and he's like what? You can stare me in the eyes, and I'm almost 6 feet tall, right? Like he's tall and skinny. He will actually, like, when you give him pills, he'll like nearly open up his mouth, and like you just I can grab his mouth one-handed, like to give him his pills or whatever, and just open up his mouth, drop them in, and then close his mouth, and he will just swallow them and walk off.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Finch is a well-behaved guy, so.
Yeah, he's got his moment.
But the reason I was saying this is that's why I watched a football game, because I was home with the kids and the dog, and I was kind of like tethered to the dog and bored. So I kind of like, I threw on the football game for a little bit and, sat there and made like, oh, such a cool boy noises to my puppy. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's not a bad way to do it.
It was a day. So I guess, that kind of
wraps it up
for today. But I did want to say, don't hold us to the Monday schedule anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to edit these and drop them as soon as I can. If news comes up, I'll just push it out. So it's going to be more loose. I think it just works better with our schedule. It's not to say you're going to have less podcasts.
Probably be every week-ish.
It'll be week-ish. It'll be like sometimes early in the week, sometimes later in the week. I actually freed up a lot of time, so every once in a while you might actually just get like a solo, hey, this happened today, and I'll just come on and drop one.
Dennis is far more interesting than I am anyways.
No, that is not true. There are a lot of Joel fans out there.
I don't believe it.
Totally true. You have groupies, man.
Yeah, well, this remains to be seen.
Oh, you should see Joel right now. He's like embarrassed.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly embarrassed. And I think you're full of shit.
All right. So, it's our first, I haven't closed a show in like a month now. What do we usually say now?
I don't know. This is Dennis Rostario.
No, there's other stuff they have to do too. Oh yeah, subscribe.
Oh, they have to do things?
Oh, they do. Yeah.
You need to subscribe.
That's right. You got to subscribe.
Press that little subscribe button right next to, on your iPhone or your, I don't know, Android device.
Yeah, so subscribe to, wherever you listen to your podcasts. iTunes is good, if you want to.
It's good.
I don't know why I just turned into Christopher Walken there for a second. But but that's how they do it. You subscribe, and then they put you in the list. You get on the list. More people listen to the show. Show does better. We do more shows. The spiel. If you want to leave a review, we'd like that too.
Oh, we love reviews.
We love the reviews. This has been a very loose show today. It's our first show back in a month. We'll get back up to speed.
I swear.
Yeah. Questions or comments? Follow us on Twitter. You can tweet at Grounded
Dennis
Reason.
has been really active.
I have lately. I have. I've been talking to the guys over at the Dollop lately.
Oh man, I love
Twitter.
that podcast.
Oh, it's
Those
very
guys
good.
Are geniuses.
Yeah, Twitter's like it's a new thing for me because I mean, like before I would just like kind of kick out articles and maybe talk to the occasional person, but like now, like the other day, like Ice-T liked a tweet of mine, and I was that's my proud moment.
I gotta
On
tell you,
Twitter.
I had like secondary pride for you when Ice-T liked your tweet, and then the Dollop guys, Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds,
or Gary.
Liked your tweets. I was like, well, holy shit! First of all, oh, Mr. Hollywood, I hobnob with Ice-T, right? Like,
yeah, Dennis.
he also has my favorite. What is that? It's no, it's lemonade.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
as Allstate commercial or no? It's Geico.
Oh, is it? It has to be
Son
a guy.
of a bitch.
I
don't know.
Any wacky commercial is just a guy.
He's
commercial in my head.
fantastic.
So,
So, anyways, the point was
See you later,
Dennis
Dennis.
has been very active on Twitter. So follow Grounded Reason on Twitter or on Facebook, and that's really it.
oh
right?
yeah, you can email us at podcast@groundedreason.com.
Yeah.
If
that's
you have any
another good
questions or comments or criticisms or whatever for the show,
one. Yeah, criticisms.
it'll help us improve.
Eh.
Anyway, so this is Dennis Restaro,
And this is Joel Reeves.
and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
What is that?
I don't know.